Here's a currently popular favorite for both American or South American popular dance lovers. Deep in a Dream, and Helen Forrest is the singer. Director Artie Shaw not only plays a wailing torrid clarinet, but also
Oh, yes. Here we are. Welcome, everybody, from deep inside the mountains of Southern California. Here we are. We are not from our usual studio in Palm Springs, so forgive us. Sometimes we need some technical adjustments, but things...
Sure.
For sure.
For sure.
Okay.
I miss our studio.
She misses our studio. Okay, first of all, let's thank the sponsors of today, Christy.
Okay, the sponsors are Daniel Estes and Hyo Yuzumaki and all the people that bought the book this week, and there was a lot of them. Thank you very much. Thank you for buying the book. Thank you.
Oh, well, I must say that Uzumaki also wrote this very nice kind of wishing poem at the start of a new book adventure, which maybe yes, why not?
Okay. As the approaching veil of the new book arises, the light of God descends down on mankind to reveal the veil. The Zagami magic of writing stirs the letters of the new tale. Waves of wonder and inner work blessed. I cannot read it.
Blessed by fiat lux.
You read it.
The rose shall open with divine valor.
Respect.
Interviews and podcasts woven, reading and editing by the female hand. and spoken 2000s by an intelligent man. She returns to Zagami land, steady and proud, with fire's love. They stand together as one. May the eternal lion roar be heard, and
May the eternal lion's roar be heard, and many new stories to come.
Whoa! Well, this deserves a gong. Okay, so.
Oh, wait, my light gets better. He's a sucker of light. I mean, watch, when he goes away, watch how better I look.
Let's move it like this. Maybe it works better.
Slightly, not really.
Okay.
I need light. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, remember, you can support us by purchasing the Vatican's Top Secret Alien Agenda. It is my latest book. It's my latest literary effort, and I tell you, it's worth purchasing. Hidden Encounters, Forbidden Rituals, and Jesuit Astronomers in the Age of UFO Disclosure is basically the book of the moment, because it finally reveals to you who is really behind this deception, disclosure, soft disclosure, which now has released the fourth batch. There is a fourth batch that we are now finally been made accustomed with. Anything that is truly revealing, well, it depends on the points of view, but definitely it is a fourth batch filled with a lot of interesting material. There is videos, there is photos, there is documents, and you can find them at the usual government website, which is www.war.gov/UFO. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The last installment that came out yesterday. So here we have a bunch of the fourth tranche of records include documents, but also images, drawings, photos. This from 1948, very interesting. It looks almost like a stealth airplane, but that was still in the making many years later. So very interesting. We have a few things here. There is also, of course, some videos, but at this point, let me show you also more regarding what we discussed last week, because last week, we said that there was about to be a big announcement, and the big announcement is in the making. Apparently, something is happening, because here it says Trump's bombshell UFO files expose eerie 8-point object in silent craft that breaches U.S. nuclear base. Okay, that's fine. But before that, the press pointed out on the possibility that Trump might reveal something more, and that something more was actually confirmed by Dr. Phil.
My friend Kathy, she was watching our show from last week.
Yes.
And she said that while she was watching it, all she received while she was watching it was notifications about Dr. Phil's alien UFO disclosure. So it's very funny that you tell me this, because I was going to tell you, but I didn't have time. I guess it doesn't have anything to do with it.
No. It is interesting, because Dr. Phil seems to be angry with those who have hidden this reality.
Absolutely furious that our government has been lying to us for at least 79 years. Hey, it's Dr. Phil here. I'm talking to you this morning because me and my team at Envoy Media have been given exclusive access by the White House and the Department of National Intelligence to the new tranche of information about UAPs. You may refer to them as UFOs. And we are very deep into that. Two things have become apparent to me. Number one, I am absolutely furious that our government has been lying to us for at least 79 years. Lying to us by omission, I think actually creating some misdirection. That's one thing. Number two, it's very clear that there are objects in our atmosphere here on Earth that are not of Earth. They're doing things, they're moving in ways that we just simply don't have the ability to do. So to me, that's not a question. That is well demonstrated. One of the things that's curious about this, and I think disturbing, is that they seem to be focusing at times around our nuclear facilities as far back as 1949. They actually held a conference about this, hidden from us, the Los Alamos Conference, where they brought in Dr. Lincoln La Paz, an expert on meteorites, because they were trying to say that maybe these are meteorites. They were very large green objects, and he said, the foremost expert said, no, these are not meteors. Meteors don't move horizontally. They don't maintain their speed, and these things were moving with intention. They were navigating, they were moving, and these have been observed over 5 cities, all having nuclear facilities. As recently as 2015, they were observed over the Pantex facility in Amarillo, which is a nuclear facility. That should bother you. It certainly bothers me. Now, why am I talking to you about this? Why me from a psychological standpoint? This matters. This matters to mankind. It matters to our value systems. What does it mean? What do we say to our children? If there is life that's not human, what does it mean to all of us? We're very deep into this. I'm going to be bringing you more information throughout the day, so stay tuned.
Oh, wow. Now we have Dr. Phil, who is turned out to be fanatic about the UFO disclosure. Oh, okay. He says that the White House actually has showed him things in advance that, wow. Who knows? Who knows? There is also in the Republican Party now somebody who claims that Trump is not being made privy to all the truth about it. I'm talking about Nancy Mace.
Committee Representative Nancy Mace is with us. Congressman, good to see you. The government says they have these videos, but they claim not to know what they are. Do you believe them?
I believe them on some things and not others. First of all, I want to say the Trump administration is the most transparent administration in American history. The fact that we're getting any files at all says a lot about disclosure, accountability, and transparency. But like, for example, one of the videos that came out today looks like a cluster of balloons. So
Oh, a cluster of balloons. Well, guys, the 4th batch, and yet no alien bodies or something that is totally groundbreaking, but the soft disclosure proceeds. What do you think, Christy?
I don't think we're ever going to hear anything interesting.
Well, it seems like the reverse engineering, it's really the problem here, because those who are criticizing the deep state are stating now that this whole reverse engineering is in the hands of defense contractors, private defense contractors, with a different degree of security clearance, and this somehow creates a problem. However, today we are discussing something that is related to non-human intelligence, but at the same time is also related to human consciousness. You see, when Dr. Alputov put together the remote viewers and they started to proceed with various programs in regards to remote viewing, they suddenly discovered that the out-of-body experience protocol established by a certain Monroe was actually maybe Robert A. Monroe was something that they were eager to actually experiment and practice for their agents. They even arrived to the point of paying the Monroe Institute, which was at the time known as the Monroe Institute of Applied Sciences, to get their agents on board. And approving this whole project was Brigadier General John Hay Smith Jr., who was at the time a key leader in the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command. But first of all, let's explain how this whole project, which was born actually in the private sector before reaching the military sector, because we have a document here from 1978 from one of the remote viewing projects that preceded the Stargate project, known as the Gondola Wish. which he mentioned when we discussed the remote viewing, which explains very clearly how this whole thing started with the government involvement. These are declassified files from the year 2000, and actually the whole gateway process was eventually declassified in 2003, but there was a missing page that finally came out in the year 2021, not thanks to the CIA that wanted to hide this missing page, and we will explain you why. Now, Christy, read this first paragraph here.
This office has been investigating the intelligence threat posed by Soviet state-of-the-art parapsychology since September 1977. This investigation revealed a serious threat posed by the Soviet parapsychological intelligence collection capability and demonstrated a need for a comprehensive countermeasures program. This report details the criteria under which the Monroe Institute of Applied Sciences, MIAS, Afton, Virginia, was selected as the organization to train MI personnel in a parapsychological intelligence collection technique so that they can mimic Soviet collectors in an operations security OPSEC support effort. This project is referred to as Gondola Wish.
The parapsychological technique to be used is known as out-of-the-body experience, which is a practice which Monroe made popular with a book that came out in 1971. So there is a lot to say about all this, because at one point this intense liaison with CIA, DIA, and the Foreign Technology Division, FTD, the US Air Force, was conducted prior to contacting the Monroe Institute of Applied Science in an attempt to determine any prior government evaluation. And in the end, they actually paid a fee of $2,000 for each agent to be trained following this method, which we will explain today, is a method which synchronizes the two hemispheres, the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. Now, I'm a left-handed person, so I'm actually somebody who is facilitated in doing this kind of things. The remote viewers needed something more, and at one point they understood that the out-of-body experience protocol established by the Monroe Institute was actually something that could work out. Now, Monroe, who was this guy Monroe, and how did he establish all this? This is today's podcast, of course, and it's my pleasure to introduce to all of you to a deep dive episode that might change how you think about your own mind and reality itself. So that's
Really?
Yes, analysis and assessment of the gateway process was eventually a document that was published in 1983 in the middle of the Cold War. The U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command handed Lieutenant Colonel Wayne McDonald a very unusual assignment. So they started working for a few years with the Monroe Institute. At that point, they wanted an assessment of what had been done. So they wanted him to scientifically evaluate the gateway experience, this program that uses audio technology to sync the two parts of the brain, expand the consciousness, and in this official document, at one point, there is a warning, a specific warning, because when you get to a certain level out of the body, you will encounter non-human intelligence. And that is also a very important element of today's story. The system that was created by Monroe is a very interesting system that it's like I said, Robert Monroe was himself a highly successful radio broadcasting executive in the 1950s and 60s. But in the late 50s, he had an experience. This experience will change his life. And it was the experience of going out of his body, of basically knocking on the ceiling and seeing his wife next to a man. And he was wondering, who is this man? And he goes close and he sees is himself, because he had gone out of his body. So at that point, Monroe began experiencing what were spontaneous out-of-body states. He would lie down to sleep or relax and suddenly find his consciousness separating from his physical body. And these weren't dreams, at least not to him. He described floating above his body, traveling to distant locations, and even interacting with other realms of existence. Like I said earlier, he published his first book, Journeys Out of the Body, which became a bestseller. I remember in my father's library, and I remember actually, I was rather young, around 10, 11 years of age. My father was meeting with another doctor, a friend of his, and they were discussing the out-of-body experience protocol, which I, by the way, had found by pure chance in a book called The Power of White Magic, which was a book written by some Wicca practitioners. But there was actually a very detailed and specific way described in the book, because you have to let your body sleep, but not your mind. You have to accede into this level of transcendence in between your sleep and your state of being awake. We are talking here, of course, about the moment that is more favorable for this focus, because then there is the various elements of the protocol established by the Monroe Institute, which become levels of focus. The Monroe Institute still conducts and receives people to this day in their institute. So it's not something that doesn't exist anymore. And they do it for people who simply want to engage in this kind of experience. So access states of expanded awareness through our life-changing programs and unlock greater meaning and purposes of life. It sounds very much like another New Age trap of sorts. However, the government seemed to think it could be actually something that the remote viewers could utilize. In fact, the remote viewers, even the ones working with Al Puthoff, started to use it, and this is how they describe their experience.
For a long time, but tapes stretch, and eventually my tape started stretching and made weird sounds. So I came back and saw him and gave him the tape. Said, Mom, I need a tape. And he threw it in the trash and walked away. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I need another tape. No, you don't. Just close your eyes and remember what it sounded like. So today you can hook me up to an EEG and I can close my eyes and remember 10, 12, 15, 21.
All the focus moves.
Yeah, my brain synchronicity will change. It becomes a habit. You can just lay back and remember it, and your brain goes right into sync. So it cut my cool down period from almost an hour to 3 minutes. What I call my cool down period, which is prepping my mind for a remote viewing, and it made everything way easier for me.
Okay, so this is a remote viewer who then started to practice this out-of-body experience. The out-of-body experience is something that in some ways connects, though, with non-human intelligence. So we have two versions of the document that were made public, of the document that was approved for release in 2003. We have a missing page, and that is also an important element of our story. The missing page, page 25, became almost legendary. But today we will, of course, show this page 25. We are also going to show the censored version to see how the CIA was attempting to censor all this. This is actually the censored version of the document, the analysis and assessment of the gateway process that was done on June 9, 1983. And here there is a very a careful description of the way that the two hemispheres are, of course, balanced. And it says here, the universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is of itself one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity, according to the theories of Carl Priram, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and David Bohm. Now, once again, the mention of Stanford University, this place which has always been central to our story when it comes down to people like Hal Puthoff. Then you have the university and the institute, which are part of this whole process that also experienced, of course, and created a remote viewing protocol as well as an out-of-body experience, so they could understand the consciousness energy grid around them. Now, in regards to the missing page, just so we can, this is the absolute infinity when you access the waves with the frequencies that, of course, balance then the two spheres of the human brain. So very detailed here, the whole thing. There is also certain terms that we might then discuss later. But when you go through this, at one point you get to page 24. And page 24 seems to be the turning point here for something, because at one point we have page 24, no? Page 24, and then it jumps, because from point 34 you go directly to point 37. Now, this was, why did the CIA hide that? What was their problem? Now, I'm going to show you, of course, the version that was eventually made public in 2021, thanks to the efforts of a journalist from Vice, who got the missing page directly from the Monroe Institute. Welcome to the Leo Zagami Show. Today we are discussing the Gateway Project. The Gateway Project, one of the most fascinating programs and aspects of the Cold War era research, connected very closely to the remote viewing experiments that inevitably then got us in contact with non-human intelligence. Now, this is the full version that I'm about to show you, is the one that, of course, has the missing link. It seems all the same, but when you go through this, then at one point you get to page 24. Page 24, let me show you. And then you have page 25. And page 25 is about left brain limitations, as well as self-knowledge, but also there is a connection with ancient, in a way, religious practices, so to speak, know thyself, mystery school, let's say, situations. Now, regarding this whole thing, I would like to show you, first of all, a brief resume of how the Gateway process came into being.
Was a scientific academy and think tank, indicated a division that was dedicated to the study of occult sciences. In fact, extensive research was being conducted on extrasensory perception, spirit channeling, divination, and other forms of anomalous phenomena. The paranormal was being scientifically explored, but for what purpose is unclear. After uncovering these documents, the U.S. began its own investigations into altered consciousness and the supernatural, and they continued for decades. Some of these projects, like Ultra, have been widely reported on. However, some have received little to no exposure since declassification. One report, titled Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process, went largely unexamined until recently. It was declassified in 2003 by the US Army, and it detailed a scientific technique developed by the Monroe Institute to facilitate astral projection, out-of-body experience, and states of altered consciousness. The purpose was to create individuals who could transcend space and time. They could achieve this through the use of the gateway tapes. Robert Monroe was a radio broadcasting executive in the early 1950s. He formed RAM Enterprises, which was a corporation that produced network radio programs. However, Monroe was interested in exploring how sound frequencies can impact the human mind. He was obsessed with discovering methods of hypnopedia, which means learning via audio while asleep. Monroe experimented with frequencies to enhance memory and learning for years. However, in 1958, he got more than he bargained for. During one of his experiments, he experienced paralysis, bodily vibrations, and bright lights, until he seemingly exited his body, floating somewhere near the ceiling. This experience was later publicized in articles and books, and it helped popularize the term out-of-body experience, or OBE. He was frightened, but also intrigued, and he began to pursue this experience, describing it as proof of the spiritual world.
So here we have somebody from the private sector, but at one point, why did the military get involved? In the 1970s, intelligence reports suggested that the Soviet Union was heavily investigating psychic research. In fact, in my latest book, I explain how the Russians then got in contact with this non-human intelligence. They actually got stood up at one point because they didn't respect their request. And all this in connection with a guy called Lieutenant Michael Sabin. Let me show you a second, because here. So this guy is the head of the remote viewers, but also the head, the chief of the people who were actually competing with America, with the guys that we are discussing now, that then put together the gateway process, because they were trying somehow to compete with the Soviet Union.
As RAM Enterprises grew beyond radio production, they rebranded as Monroe Industries, and they developed a research division named the Monroe Institute. There, they studied the impact of sound frequencies and patterns on human consciousness. Monroe discovered that the human brain was subject to a frequency-following response, which means brainwaves would naturally adapt to mimic the audio frequencies played to it. However, many known brainwave patterns like beta, theta, and delta occur at frequencies that are inaudible to the human ear. To circumvent this limitation, Monroe would play different frequencies to the left and right ears, which would create a beat frequency. A beat frequency is simply the difference between the two played frequencies. For example, if a 210 Hz frequency is played in one ear and 220 Hz frequency is played in the other ear, it would generate a beat frequency of 10 Hz, evoking physiological and mental states that are related to those brainwave frequencies. This process would synchronize the amplitude and frequency of brainwaves between both hemispheres. This synchronization is called hemisync, and it rarely occurs in natural circumstances. Monroe claimed that the gateway process could lead to prolonged states of hemisync, and he could stimulate states of consciousness by forcing the brain to emulate frequencies. By evoking delta brainwaves in the 1 to 4 Hz range, he could elicit states of meditation or relaxation. Early research at the Monroe Institute suggested that the gateway process had many practical applications: stress relief, pain anesthetic, accelerated learning, and more. However, it would only later be applied in an attempt to create psychic soldiers under the guidance of the US Army.
So you see, the U.S. Army comes later on wanting to give a military spin to the whole thing. However, in this document, MacDonald draws parallels also with the religious concepts. And there is this parallel between the absolute at rest, which he calls the Father, the holographic self-awareness, which he calls the Son, and the eternal thought model, which he calls the Holy Spirit. So it's like he also draws notes regarding the patterns, the spiral patterns that appear in ancient symbols, the Hellenic labyrinth, the Hebrew tree of life, the Chinese spirals, and in particular, like I said, the famous missing page 25, which was obtained in 2021 from the Moro Institute by journalist Toby Champion, completes this picture. It describes the universe as a cosmic egg, and this description goes hand in hand with Hermeticism, alchemy, and then you have the torus concept, which we have seen in the paper, which represents the absolute. So it draws parallels with the religious concepts and ends with the ancient maxim, know thyself. We can say that basically the CIA avoided page 25 because it bridges the technical model with profound metaphysical implications. And for some reason, they didn't want us to have the full picture.
That's really important.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Know thyself is one of the most important things.
And this is actually the moment in which page 25 of the CIA's Gateway Report on Asset Projection was actually found. And it describes how this, because in 2023, when it was declassified, we didn't have the complete picture. It's a little bit like today. Today, we have a whole situation regarding UAPs, the alien reality, but it's all incomplete. A lot of these documents are cleverly censored, and we will never really have the full picture. However, one of the most important elements of this document, official document, by the way, by an Army intelligence officer, so we're not talking about simply any kind of document, is MacDonald consistently frames everything in a scientific way, but also in energetic terms. He speaks of intelligent, non-corporeal energy forms, conscious entities without physical bodies that may exist in dimensions accessed when consciousness transcends normal time-space limits. The report does not claim these encounters occurred during gateway training. It simply states that anyone advancing far enough, especially in deep out-of-body experiences in the various focus, in this case is focus 21, should be mentally and intellectually ready to handle the possibility that they will encounter non-human intelligence. In fact, the document is very specific regarding this point. Let's have Christy reading here a couple of the elements that are shown also.
You have to make it bigger.
Yes, but first of all, let me go here to the actual point. You see here, point J.
Be intellectually prepared to react to possible encounters with intelligent and non-corporal energy forms.
Corporeal.
That's what I said.
Yes.
Non-corporal energy forms when time-space boundaries are exceeded.
So arrange to have groups of people in focus 12 state unite their altered conscience to build holographic patterns around sensitive areas to repulse possible unwanted out-of-body presences.
Isn't that like a demon?
Well, yeah, but this is a more scientific way of putting it. Let's say that, we have the incubi, the succubi in the past, but this is a more scientific, modern, encourage more advanced gateway participants to build holographic patterns. And then it also describes ways of building these protections around us when we are actually doing this kind of experience. So here we have the missing page, though. I want to go back to page 25, which I would like Christy to read the left brain limitations. But actually, what I would like Christy to read starts from, let me show here. Yes, I would say from this point onwards, this point 35, left brain limitations. So let's see. Christy can read.
I'll try.
You will try.
I don't know.
Otherwise, you get the puppets to read. But
No, it's just like that really weird kind of writing that's very hard to read.
Okay.
And you never make it bigger, so.
Bigger than this, I can.
Oh, okay. 20th century physics would seem to be revisiting insights belonging to mankind as far back as written records can take us. The only difference is that 20th century physics is using a left brain, linear, quantitative style of reasoning to approach the same knowledge which the mystics of the old apparently acquired in a holistic, intuitional right brain style. As a tool in the hands of our left brain culture, Gateway would seem to be a promising method for achieving the intuitive, holistic type of interface with the universal hologram needed to provide the context that thinkers like Einstein's have sought in their labors to discover a unified field theory in physics. For persons in our profession whose concerns revolve around strategic issues, tactical questions, and matters of managerial form and system, access to a new world of intuitive perception and self-reflection would seem to offer, in the long term, the means by which to know in a truly objective way. This is so because the self-imposed limitations to balanced perception and objective logic, which are cultural and thinking style, could be offset by the holistic form of perception associated with altered states of consciousness. To the extent that we come to perceive ourselves fully in the context of what portion of the universal hologram, which is the reflection of ourselves, to that extent we release ourselves from the prison of subjectivity.
Now let me read this. Self-knowledge. It was axiomatic to the mystic philosophers of old that the first step in personal maturity could be expressed in the aphorism, know thyself. To them, the education of a man undertook as his primary step before attempting to approach the outside world. They rightly assumed that they could not effectively evaluate and cope with the world until he fully understood his personal psychological balance. The insights being provided by 20th century psychology in this context through the use of various kinds of personality testing seems to be a revalidation of this ancient intuition. But no personality test or series of tests will ever replace the depth and fullness of the perception of self, which can be achieved when the mind alters its state of consciousness sufficiently to perceive the very hologram of itself. Quite particular what they say, no? But very specific, this universal hologram, and in a total holistic and intuitional way. This will seem to be one of the real promises of the gateway experience from the standpoint of its ability to provide a portal through which, based on months, if not years of practice, the individual may pass in his search to find self, personal effectuality, and truth in the larger sense. Okay, so let's go back to what they worked out and how they did it.
In 1983, Lieutenant Colonel Wayne M. McDonnell submitted a classified report titled An Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process.
So here we
Was a
have
scientific
the whole thing regarding
little to no exposure
the gateway process
as
paper.
proof of the spiritual world.
It's of course something that is connected, like we said, to the spiritual world, and is connected, though, also to the intention of the American military to use it strategically, because the out-of-body experience for them was then a way of, just like a remote viewing, being able to accede places that were far remote and distant. So here we have definitely a situation in which the military intelligence was very interested.
Even the restrictions of time and space. To understand how human consciousness could escape the physical body, McDonnell asserted that the world is a hologram, a theory which is shared by even current-day physicists. All matter consists of atoms, small nucleic centers surrounded by large electron energy fields. The energy fields between all matter coexist and interact, and through these interactions, all energy fields become imprinted and encoded with information. Furthermore, complex principles in holographic theory suggest that this imprinting can occur between dimensions. Not only is there an interconnectedness between everything we know, but perhaps there is information in our world about dimensions that we have yet to discover. The holographic theory is further complicated by interaction with human consciousness. We do not passively perceive the world, but through perception, we change it. Through free will, we can selectively perceive and influence the holographic universe. Similar to popular New Age ideas like The Secret and Law of Attraction, human beings can manifest certain realities through imagination and willpower. Lastly, McDonnell speculates that human consciousness may be able to temporarily escape time and space. Utilizing the gateway tapes to accelerate brainwave frequencies, these brainwaves may break a physical limitation known as the Planck distance. The Planck distance is the smallest measurable distance in the physical world. The peaks of accelerated brainwaves, and theoretically the accompanying human consciousness, would temporarily enter a sub-Planckian universe. This primordial dimensional space predates our known universe, and it is not subject to the limitations of time and space. McDonnell theorized that consciousness would blink into this sub-Planckian space and return with knowledge that would otherwise be inaccessible. Quote, "It becomes possible to see how human consciousness brought to a sufficiently altered state could obtain information concerning the past, present, and future."
Oh, Christy, what are the puppets saying here?
I just don't have anything to say, but I have a lot to say.
Okay, Christy has a lot to say. Christy has a lot to say.
No, I think that all this is very dangerous. And I don't think that going around the dimensions and like opening your mind like that in meditation, well, you do it like in a meditative state, and I don't believe that that's very good.
Well,
I believe that
here they do it through what they call hemi-sync, and this hemi-sync is introduced in this way. So hemi-sync has a lot to do with the concept that you said, meditation, but is operating through frequencies that then are similar to this one, for example. So, Christy thinks that binaural beats are dangerous. Do you agree? Here in the chat, you can, of course, tell us more of your own idea
Well, I mean, you have
regarding
these
the
people
subject.
on YouTube and they have these binaural beats that they upload, and you don't even know if it's really a binaural beat or if it's something else. You know, anybody can be nefarious and upload something else. I think anything on the internet that you're listening to, besides Leo Zagami, of course, is very it's
Okay,
hard.
so
It's hard to, I don't know, it's just hard, the internet.
I would like to show our viewers, though, the experience of somebody who in 2023 came to discover that he could actually go out of the body. And at that point, he was like fascinated and wanted to go to the Moro Institute and experience the whole thing directly.
Oh, yeah?
So this is what happened to him.
Music throughout this video has been enhanced with Monroe Sound Science to maximize its ability to expand your consciousness, and for a greater listening experience, we strongly advise the use of headphones. October 29th, 3:09 a.m., 2023. This was the first time I left my body. After getting home from work, I was looking forward to getting a good night's rest. But after giving up my usual routine of nighttime substances, I was having a hard time falling asleep these days. So that night, I decided to give myself a head start with some melatonin. Now, melatonin has really been known to help improve sleep quality and induce a deeper state of sleep. But what I didn't know is that I was also beginning to feel the effects of what is called REM rebound. REM stands for rapid eye movement, and it's the deepest form of sleep. It's where lucid dreams happen. And REM rebound happens when you've been regularly consuming alcohol or cannabis, and the amount of natural REM sleep that your body requires is backed up, like water in a floodgate. Only to be released when you quit consuming for about a week. And throughout this week, the dreams I was having would get increasingly vivid. And my memory of them subsequently became stronger. After fighting off the urge to stay awake for about an hour, it was time to lie down. What the fuck was that? That wasn't a dream. Or at least, it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like surreal. More than real. I remember waking up from a dream, and everything around me was fuzzy and without color. I remember an intense vibration throughout my body, a humming, and the feeling of weightlessness. And I remember lifting slowly, about 3 feet above my bed. And in a second, sheer terror and fright enveloped my body. I've never been this scared. This was different. This somehow was real. My immediate thought was, can I go back? And if so, will it frighten me? I told myself I wouldn't be scared.
It is a frightening experience. Now, I remember myself, I was, as a kid, really eager to do this experience. And I was always there in between my mother waking me up to go to school and me wanting to get out of my body. But somehow it kind of like never really worked out. But when I eventually got to the point of literally sliding out through head or feet, in this case through feet, because there is various ways of going out the body. You know, McDonald himself describes the OBE techniques that are rolling out laterally from the body, lifting straight up like a rigid object. And what instead happened to me was sliding out through the feet. And it was immediate and it was incredible because at that point, you are really, you know, fearing the possibility of not going back into the body. So that is when you have this kind of moment of grabbing, you know, to something, or it's almost like being in apnea. You are out of the body, but you are not really sure you can get back into the body. That is probably what scares a lot of people. Now, the REM stages are very important in all this. There is, of course, a very detailed explanation in this document which we are describing today, a document which was made in 1983 by a military intelligence official to analyze the mechanism of this EMI-sync. This guy here that we have just seen then ended up going to the Moro Institute, where they actually, you know, make you sleep through frequencies. You have buttons where you can push, you know, and then the experience is obviously monitored. And this is him.
Answers, it's a great place to go to and ask questions. So they asked us to write down a few open-ended questions to see if we can get some answers back. So both questions that I have here: what do I need to prioritize right now? And number two, how can I become closer to the answers I seek? So we're about to hop back into Focus 12, and I'll see you on the other side, see if I get some answers to these questions. Who knows?
You spent the whole day roaming around in Focus 12. You did a bunch of things, you developed a bunch of tools, and now you're gonna have a free flow in Focus 12. And remember, your intention rules your experience. So, we ready? Okay, let's go.
Okay, we're currently headed back. We're gonna go do a free session, which is basically we get to do whatever we want during a Focus 12. You know, I got some really great feedback on what was going on with me, because I sincerely felt like there was a truck driving, you know, on the property, like a Mack truck or like a Stampede or something. Like I felt like it wasn't just me.
So this guy went there to have the getaway process experience. You go through these various focus. Focus 10 is mind awake, body asleep, which is the main concept of the whole out-of-body experience, because the mind needs to be awake and the body needs to be asleep if you want to get out the body. Then you have Focus 12, which is expanded awareness. Focus 15, exploration of the past, non-physical. Focus 21, exploration beyond time and space. All these programs combined with binaural beats, which with guided instructions, visualization, and a process of relaxation. And of course, by the early 80s, the word had spread, and a lot of military personnel that was involved already in the remote viewing programs ended up at the Moro Institute, which still exists to this day. And I mean, it's an experience. Some people might think it's an experience that they will probably like to avoid.
And then there's a tuning frequency. After that, morning exercise, breakfast, 9 a.m., the day begins. And I think we start our first real exercise. After the exercise, we all gather together in like this common area, and we're gonna debrief. And some of us are more experienced and have had a ton of outer body experiences apparently, and others like me have only maybe had one accidentally. But I don't think that those are going to be filmed. I think one of them is going to be filmed.
So what do you think, Christy, about all this?
You said that I had an experience like this because I described something to you.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was that.
That was different, no?
No, because I never had this sensation of sliding out of my body, and I never had this fear.
But you had ever of going out of your body?
Yeah.
Well, that is one of the...
But it just kind of happened. Like I was.
Well, it kind of happens because, I mean, it's not...
I was trying to reach you because they had taken him to the hospital.
They locked me up during my insurrection attempts in Italy.
Yeah, the one where they break down the door, blah, blah, blah.
blah.
But anyway, so he was gone for 11 days. And, you know, at night I wasn't with him anymore and I missed him. And so I would just try to go over there and see how he was doing. And I did manage. I mean, I didn't realize I was doing anything because you kind of feel like you're just imagining everything. And so I actually imagined that I went over all the roofs of all the villages, and I arrived into Subiaco Hospital, and then I went down. And the funny thing is, the next day I went in to visit Leo, and I had seen him in my thing, and so I saw that you were fine and everything, but somebody saw me because this guy came up to me.
The problem is, you know, they had locked me up, which is something these criminals in Italy did because at the time I had created.
Well, that's what they do.
This pitchfork revolution. It was blocking. It was creating a lot of problems, politically speaking, for the people in control of that demented country, which I'm no longer part of, thank God. As you know, I had to flee Italy in 2019, and I've never been back ever since. And I'm now an American citizen, and I'm proud of being an American citizen because we are free to discuss things like this without the paranoia of having somebody breaking through your door. I think that the problem is with many people who follow the so-called truth movement, if we want to call it still that way, that they don't understand that when you really say the truth, when you really become a threat to the establishment, they will come after you. And
they come after you. And I was like a person that wasn't even in this kind of realm of anything. I met him and I was just doing something different.
What I think,
can I just finish saying?
No, but what I think, your experience.
My experience.
That you had, and that you now can continue. But and the guy who actually the day after when you came visit me recognized you. It was a guy who, of course, because of his altered state, because in those places they give you a bunch of
Well, he was on what do you call it, psychologically drugs?
Psychoactive.
I mean, he was on a lot of things. But anyway, I went in there and he came running up to me. I made friends with him, and he said, I saw you last night. And I said, you did? You saw me? You saw me come in here? He's like, yeah, you came in like an angel. I thought that was really cool that he said that. But I thought I was just having one of those meditative experiences where I'm imagining everything, because I always tend to think that I'm imagining the experience I'm having, because it feels like your imagination a little bit. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like I was sliding out of my body.
But at the moment in which somebody actually...
But then he saw me.
Saw you. And then, in fact, Christy came to me and said that he actually saw me last night when I came to visit you.
I only did it one time. I didn't do it after that again because I didn't really like that, because I felt like I was spying. And I don't really feel like that's very good. And God doesn't like that very much. And so... that was the last time I ever did that. I mean, for me, it was not a good experience to do that. I did a lot of that kind of experimenting in meditation.
Remote viewing.
Like, I didn't ever remote view on a person, ever. I never did that because you're not supposed to spy. And but I did go places that were interesting, And I felt like it was my imagination doing it. I didn't feel like I was
But
going
then
through
you
a
had the
process.
confirmation when you
But I
did
did
it
it with somebody,
with
and
somebody who actually was having the same experience.
yeah, and we would describe the same things to each other. It was all
And
done
that is-
very innocent, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
but that is what when you do remote viewing in a
and it's
professional
not good.
setup.
It was an experiment. It wasn't good. Don't do this at home, everyone, because it's not good. The things that you bring in when you do stuff like that, when you open your mind, are really bad. And I can say that, those years in Italy were really bad for me when I was exploring that stuff.
Yes.
It was not a good experience, and I was not happy. You never saw me, in fact. I mean, I always kind of stayed in the shadows, and people didn't even know that Leo even had a wife because you never saw me. I mean, I've been there since the very beginning. But all of a sudden, I show up in 2019 or 2020, 2021, whenever I started doing the show with you. That's because I was having such a hard time with all that crap that I brought in. I mean, because every single time you open your mind like that and you let that crap come in, you're opening yourself to demons, and those demons will attach to you, and they attach to different parts of your body, and they will stay there until they're exorcised out. And so I actually had to have an exorcism to get rid of these 211 demons that I acquired from doing New Age nonsense. So don't do it at home, guys. I'm lucky, and I was able to get rid of all that crap. But when I had that crap in my life, everything that I didn't want was there. Bad relationships, a lot of fear, anxiety, OCD. I was cutting my hair. I mean, it was just terrible, all these horrible things. And I wasn't well. I mean, I wasn't healthy. I was always sick. I was always in pain. And so, yeah.
There is one interesting
That's it.
thing regarding the work of Monroe, because within his own book, he actually talks, throughout, he says, and I'm quoting Monroe, throughout man's history, the reports have been consistent. They are demons, spirits, goblins, gremlins, and assorted subhuman entities always hanging around humanity to make life miserable. And then Monroe himself says, are they myths? Are these myths? Take a good, says, take a good long look. Perhaps all such things do originate in the imagination. The question is, from what source does the imagination conjure up these beings? And so this was what Monroe was saying in his Journeys Out of the Body, which is that was a bestseller. He talks also of late visits from the demons that have been infrequent.
Oh boy, that's
so
not very good.
So there is definitely some elements that within his own work, and his own work, of course, was conducted together with psychiatrists, professionals from the medical field, and it's definitely a groundbreaking kind of, situation where you want to create a model, a protocol to connect with your out-of-body experience, and you want to do it also creating what they called this energy balloon. This energy balloon that apparently is supposed to protect you while you are in this kind of situations. So the way that he was viewing the universe was that there is really no solid matter, and that everything is energy vibrating in patterns. This is also something regarding, the fact that we are back into discussing aliens, sex, non-human intelligence, and all that. Why they have been here for thousands of years, and why can't we see them? Because they are vibrating at a different vibration. No, that is the way they can hide, or they could hide. Now that our technology, also thanks to our reverse engineering, is catching up and is making, maybe more difficult for certain realities to hide. And so we had a lot of discussion on the last week on Trump maybe announcing something soon about this interdimensional reality, because when it comes to this kind of thing, a lot of people, a lot of researchers are bringing out the interdimensional reality. And I must say that it's rather interesting. This week there was an interview that was made on this show with this admiral, which you should check out.
Like to know how we went from this is something we can't explain to non-human intelligence.
These objects are hovering over the surface of the ocean and exhibiting transmedium travel.
UAPs may be underwater.
One of the most compelling pieces of data is the video from the USS Omaha, Southern California in 2019. Flight control surfaces or exhaust or ether propulsion. The mainstream science community, they don't want to touch the topic of UAP with a 10-foot pole. But we're seeing UAP everywhere in all domains. The true nature of the phenomena might be really terrifying because we're not in control.
Rear Admiral Timothy Gallaudet served for 32 years in the U.S. Navy and was one of the first to receive sailor and pilot reports of UAPs. He reveals how some of the greatest secrets in the universe and our oceans are being kept from even the President of the United States.
So we know, like I said in my book, that the president is only, a person who is temporary in the White House. So for that reason, let's say there are probably people with a much higher level of security clearance regarding this matter. That's why also we had this politician from the Republican Party coming on TV in the last 24 hours and saying they are keeping things from Donald J. Trump. Well, I don't know if that's a bad thing necessarily. In any case, this is what she was trying to say.
Department of War released this video today from the UFO files. Part of
So
the
here you have a bunch of UFO files, like we said, being released, and then now there is this whole discussion surrounding the fact that maybe Trump doesn't know all the truth.
I think he'd get mad.
Want them released? Why would we push the government to release something that would give the Chinese enough?
So then we're talking also about, maybe state secrets that will advantage the enemy. Ooh, wow.
Through the Oversight Committee, by the way, of an individual that says that there are certain three-letter agencies that are blocking documents in the UAP UFO space from this administration. So I do think that there's some of that going on. And generally speaking,
you really believe that?
What's that?
You really believe that the CIA is telling their own director you can't look at something?
It's not just the CIA.
Okay, the NSA. Anybody? You really believe that over 80 years somehow these three-letter agencies have managed to keep secrets from everybody and nobody has ever spoken out?
I do. I 100% think that.
Have you ever known the government to be that good?
Look how long it's taken us to declassify some of this information. I do think that some of the deep state does go about hiding information, not only from the American public, but from elected officials. There is a history of that. It goes back a long time, Leland, whether it's trying to find where our military spending is going in just about every war. We've got these.
So I want to get back to this because you said you've seen images that you want the American people to see. Is that because you think these images would prove to the American people there's aliens?
No, I don't think it would prove that there's aliens. I've seen no proof of that. But
so then what's the point?
Because
they go around in a circle.
Around
Now,
in
the last few hours, guys,
it's a whole bunch of nothing.
Not only we had this whole government soft disclosure ongoing, disclosure advocates, so-called whistleblowers and all that in a frenzy because, the release of the fourth batch and all that. But now we have the gatekeeper, Jacques Vallée, coming on the scene with his last big announcement. And of course, it's something that confirms once again the relevance of Jacques Vallée as the major gatekeeper, the godfather of UFO research.
There is something deeper that creates the illusion of space and time in humans.
The
UFO world can be a spooky one. It's hard to know which sources to trust. You have to listen to your inner voice about who has ulterior motives, who is profiteering, who is spreading disinformation, and who is performing psychological...
Okay, so this premise by Jesse Michaels is right. The problem is that after, he embraces as his mentor Jacques Vallée, and, he wants to suck up on any of his alleged truths.
...operations on the American population. The point is, without an internal compass, it's easy to end up alone in a hallway of mirrors.
These days, since our technology platforms are so high to generate effects,
It's him! Al Pudo!
then it really is a zoo of options and possibilities.
But occasionally you meet longtime researchers who are clearly on their own genuine quest for meaning in life, and their inquiry into UFOs is just one part of that. A harbinger of the next paradigm, a fascinating scientific anomaly with profound sociological implications.
I would be ashamed of being human if I didn't try to find out, or at the minimum acknowledge that it was there.
Jacques Vallée is the ultimate archetype of this. He is a serious researcher.
Jacques Vallée, as I explain in this book, is the ultimate gatekeeper. And of course, he acts as such up until the end, up until his latest announcement on the reality that surrounds us.
Science, physics, and astronomy background. He even helped build the earliest version of the internet, a project called ARPANET, with legendary computer scientist Doug Engelbart. And for the purposes of this episode, he has probably talked to more UFO witnesses and seen more exotic material than any living person. In fact, it's now almost conventional knowledge that if you're an average citizen who encounters a UFO crash, mail the materials to Jacques. Jacques' books are incredibly dense and detailed, not for the faint of heart. But if you read them closely, Jacques can drop some truth bombs you won't get anywhere else, like in his book Revelations, Alien Contact and Human Deception, when he hints that Bob Lazar was actually an MK Ultra patient, possibly the subject of government brainwashing, which led him to believe he worked on reverse engineering UFOs. On page 9, Vallée writes, Robert Lazar also told me of his strange memory lapses of the peculiar liquid he was made to drink.
It violated a lot of what we thought was impossible to violate.
But perhaps what I find most interesting about Jacques is that he's just as mystical as he is hard-headed and scientific. He's as interested in esotericism,
He's a Satanist, of course!
and Philip K. Dick as he is nuts and bolts analysis of the material science and physics involved in UFOs.
We really don't have a good idea of what reality is.
When Steven Spielberg wanted to depict an eccentric yet brilliant scientist studying UFOs for his famous movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, he decided to base the character, played by Francois Truffaut, off of Jacques. I've been privileged enough to have a few private conversations with Jacques prior to this interview. He often doesn't answer my questions directly and almost seems to speak in code and parables, leaving me with breadcrumbs in the form of books.
Yeah, he leaves you with breadcrumbs, but he's still there wanting more breadcrumbs, this guy. He's like, okay, if you want instead the truth regarding what is really going on with Jacques Vallée, I would suggest you get a copy of the Vatican Top Secret Alien Agenda, and we will see each other next week. Christy, puppets.
She's just been laying on the...
What happened to her?
Oh, I fixed her.
Yeah? Yeah, she had some...
Yeah, she had a black mark on her face. She looked
what?
like a little bit like Marilyn.
Oh.
I took it off.
Okay. If you enjoyed this show, guys, put like, please share it, subscribe to our channels. That is of great help. We are broadcasting at the moment on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, on Rumble, and also on BitChute. We try to be present beyond the possible censorship and shadow banning that continues to this day. We will suggest that the books are the solution, because in the books you have the really the knowledge. You can go dig deep in the knowledge. Here we have fun. We have fun, and today we wanted to discuss
Very interesting.
this Gateway Declassified project, which also involves the out-of-body experience subject, which I find rather interesting. Next week, we will have another very interesting subject, but it's going to be a surprise, of course. I'm almost tempted to tell you what. No, I will not. I will not. Okay.
I don't even know.
No,
I don't even
I
know.
kept it top secret. And we will see each other, of course, during the week also with more interviews. I'm continuing to promote with those who want, who are willing. Now we had an excellent interview with Dr. Sala. We had another one with Dr. Barre, that was also very good. And of course, last week also we had
Professor Hamamoto.
Professor Amamoto, whose interview was highly engaging and very interesting. And there is also an interview I made with Michael Deegan that is particularly fascinating, because he was at Contact in the Desert this year, confirming a lot of what I said regarding Jacques Vallée and all the other characters that
I'm
were...
so glad we didn't go. I'm so glad.
Okay, well... we didn't go. Yeah.
But I don't have that to unsee, so.
Perfect. We will see each other soon. Don't forget, if you want to see us more often, the donations, GoFundMe or Cash App, and you can find, of course, the Cash App handle at leozagami.com, together with my latest articles, which are usually based on my latest books. But check out the website every now and then. You can find some great stuff there. Okay. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
But not explicating his point. But I pressed him to give us explicit details. Spoiler alert, he drops some serious new knowledge on us.
Fermi tutti! Illuminati! What is happening on my head?
It's all over.
Christy, what do you think of the fact that they claim this week they have actually found the body of a Bigfoot? I know that you were a little bit perplexed by this discovery.
Bigfoot. Don't tell anybody, but I really don't care about Bigfoot.
You don't care about Bigfoot?
No.
No, because they claim they have actually discovered... You don't care?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't care about aliens either. I don't.
Why?
I don't. I try, but I can't. I really try to care, but I don't care. I only care about God. That's
because
it.
they felt they had a real project going on that was secret. Okay.
Was that true?
And the Air Force did.
Oh, I didn't know that. We also talk about his new book, Trinity.
So you know what Trinity is? Trinity is like an attempt to bring back to 1945 the first alien encounter, when my book brings you back to 1933 in northern Italy, the Magenta UFO crash. That's even better.
It happened in the 30s, not in the 40s. 30s.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.